Well, guys, welcome to another great episode of the Pause Write and Play podcast. Well, presumably it's going to be great because we actually haven't recorded anything yet and we're just beginning. So before we get going, obviously you know the cast. We got Vince and Josh, but Vince, how's life been? What have you been watching? What's new in the world
Ew.
of Vince?
Not a lot. Same old, same old. You don't really leave your basement much. I've been out running. Oh, that's new. I started running. It's terrible.
It's going to say you're a dedicated human is what I really feel about that. I hate running and actually I enjoy running in the mountain. Have you been running on the street or like in the hills?
Just on the street here. I find it's really easy just to be able to throw on some shoes and walk out the front door. And, working from home, you don't get out of the house as often as you'd like to. At least that's my situation.
Yeah.
So I just decided one day that I was just going to start running, and that was a month ago now. And I'm happy to say I'm probably in the best shape of my life now, which isn't saying a lot because I've never been in great shape, but like, not to brag or anything, but in about a month, I've been running every other day. And in about a month, I went from only being able to run about a mile to 2 days ago, I ran 5 miles at a 10-minute pace. And if you were to tell me that I would be doing that at any point in my life, I would have laughed in your face. So I don't really like to run, but I don't know. It's been a nice, like I said, just a nice excuse to get outside, and it's nice and sunny out lately, and just get your heart running a little bit. And it's been kind of nice. It's been enjoyable.
Nice. I'm not much of a runner these days, but I do ride my bike a fair amount to the grocery store to get food. Not much for any other purpose besides that. Josh,
Ride my
what
bike
about
to get
you?
the ice cream.
Yep, exactly. That is exactly why I go ride my bike tonight. It was to get lemon bars.
That's why we all
The
exercise.
the only reason I'll ever run is because I just feel bad for my dog. He's obviously a
Mm-hmm.
lot faster than I am, and so when we go out for a walk, I'm like speed walking, right? And he's still like is looking back at me like, "Come on, let's freaking go." So I'll start, running and jogging with him for a little bit, about half of our walk before I get tired and have to slow down and stuff. But it's at least something to get me out, and I enjoy it.
Yeah, heck yeah.
Yeah, it's been good. Life is going well.
That's good, man. That's good. You guys been watching anything noteworthy or that we need to bring up here really fast?
I watched Harriet the other day at my friend's house. I had never seen it before, and I definitely see why Cynthia Erivo got her Oscar nomination for it. It was incredible. It was really, really good. I loved it.
I haven't heard of that one. What is it?
Harriet, it's like the story of Harriet Tubman. It was released last year,
Oh,
and it was
didn't it?
really
Wasn't
good.
it nominated for an Oscar
Yeah, it
somewhere?
had a best song nomination, and then Cynthia
Yeah,
Erivo,
yeah.
the leading actress, she was nominated for best leading actress, and she was incredible. She was amazing. So
Awesome.
it was definitely really good, and it was super interesting. I did some, research afterwards because it wasn't only about, getting people away from the plantations and everything like that. It would be how a lot of times, you know, certain people after they had gained their freedom, like a way to get ahead in life would be to turn against their own people, right? And so it was really
Hmm.
sad, but also really interesting to see that all play out. It's definitely a good movie. I'd recommend it to anyone.
Cool. I didn't watch anything like that, but I did watch one of those 1990s masterpieces, Batman Forever.
Yes. I'm proud of
uh,
you.
it's not as bad as I remember. It's, don't get me wrong, it's terrible. It's stupid, campy, dumb bat nipples, But that's what they were going for, I think, was just the campy Batman. And Jim Carrey has never fit better in a movie than he did in that movie. I've been going on this like old Batman binge because HBO, they launched their whole new service and they announced that we're going to have all the DC movies. And then about 2 weeks ago, week and a half ago or something like that, they announced that half the DC movies are getting taken off the service, starting like beginning of July. And that includes like all of those old Batman movies. And with the whole talk going on about Michael Keaton coming, is that his name? It's Michael Keaton, right?
Yeah, Michael Keaton.
Okay, yeah, I don't know why I just second guessed his first name. Anyway, Keaton's coming back supposedly to the DC universe here soon. And so with all the talk about Keaton coming back, I was like, I need to go back and watch those old Tim Burton movies. And then I finished the 2 Tim Burton movies and I was like, I watched Batman Forever so many times as a kid, so many times. So I was like, I got to jump into Batman Forever and see if it's still as fun as I remember it being. And it is. It's stupid, campy fun. Best of the 3, easily Batman Returns. But that's a whole nother conversation we can get into.
We should have like a classic Batman movie conversation one of these nights. I think that would be fun.
What have you been watching?
It, though. I actually watched all of season 1, and I'm on episode 8 of season 2 of What We Do in the Shadows on FX.
Oh,
and I'm freaking loving it, guys. So freaking good. Vince, you recommended it, and I've been loving it.
Good. Did you watch the movie too?
I did. Actually, like I watched it with a friend a couple of years back, and then I watched it again in the fall/winter time. And then I watched it again with my wife in the spring here, and all of a sudden she's like, loved it, which she's like, this normally wouldn't be something I'm into because of vampires. I can't take them seriously. But because of the way this movie is, it fits because everyone's like, oh, vampires are this. And she's like, no, I can never take vampires seriously. So
yeah, that's kind of the point of the show, right? Is not to take vampires seriously.
Yeah, it's the whole point of it. And that's what I love is it's just so funny. And I like this one. Like it's just good fun. And then I finally got around to watching Little Women the other day. I can see why it was nominated for so many Oscars. I think it was a great film. I downloaded the book actually to my phone, and I'm going to start reading it this week. So
Greta Gerwig is great.
So I enjoyed it. So yeah, that's kind of what I do.
The whole cast is great.
The whole cast was.
Oh,
fantastic.
She's the director. Sorry.
Oh,
but
I was thinking that she was. What's the girl's name that stars in Lady Bird? I was thinking that was her, but you're right.
Oh, Saoirse Ronan.
Yeah, Saoirse Ronan. Mm-hmm. Also, how many films has Saoirse Ronan and Timothée Chalamet been in together? Like so many. Like they were in Lady Bird together. They've been in something else together, and something else together, and now Little Women. You know, like it just seems like they're.
I love those 3 movies. Something Else 1, 2, and 3. So good.
They're instant film classics. I mean, I can't really complain about it too much. It's been like a solid fun time with movies. We also I kind of texted you this. We got a projector. You know how I was hating on people who buy like extra stuff for their house to watch movies? It was like, I'm not getting a soundbar. I'm not going to invest in stuff. And the other night we were sitting out on our lawn and I was like, the side of that shed looks pretty good. Like we could project a movie on there. And Allie agreed. And so next thing I know, like we bought a projector off Amazon.
Heck yeah.
So I'm going to like paint the shed white, I'm thinking, and just so we can project it up there. Or I want to buy like an old school projector from a surplus or something to like post up on that wall.
We can't go to the movies, so you're going to bring the movies home to your backyard.
Yeah, exactly.
You can rent out like space 6 feet apart and tell your neighbors to come over and give you $5 and then you can put something up on the theater.
I probably shouldn't publicly be like, yeah, let's do it. I probably am gonna be like getting some sort of Broovies like lawsuit against me. I don't know, but no, we have a speaker and everything we can connect to it, so it'll be like pretty dang good. I'm kind of thinking like,
that's
maybe
awesome,
we should
man.
have a movie night.
Yeah, I would love to come do that. That'd be a blast.
Should. And then I was actually like really sad that we couldn't get together this week, like in person, because I actually looked up the recipe on how to make like the pasta from Chef, the molten lava cake, and the grilled cheese. And I was like, this would be fun. Oh yeah, by the way, this week we're watching Chef. I just spilled the beans everywhere. Blah! We're watching a classic food delight, Chef, talking it.
Making me hungry already. Again.
I mean, watching this movie, all I was hungry, and I got up to snack like 9 times.
I'll tell you what, the most disappointing thing ever was finishing up this, getting up, walking to my kitchen, and toasting a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Why would that be disappointing? That's so good, man.
Did you see the food they were making on this? Freaking
I
Texas
know.
barbecue, some of the best looking pasta, and like you said, grilled cheese sandwiches I've ever seen. And I walk in and I make a peanut butter jelly sandwich, and not even good peanut butter and jelly. It was goober. I have leftover goober in the drawer
Yeah,
that I just
that's
used the
not
last
good.
of. It was terrible. It was terrible, and all I wanted was like a really good Cuban.
I was just saying, like, there's worse things that you could have done. You know, you could have gone in and thrown in like a microwave, like one of those disgusting like microwave like Salisbury steak meals or something like that. You know,
Hey
like it
hey
could have
now,
been
don't make
worse.
fun of my food. I'm
Are you one
actually
of those?
kidding. After we watched this, we traversed all of Salt Lake County and Utah County to find a Cuban sandwich. So I know what you're saying here. We had to find it. It made me want a good Cuban sandwich.
You can go to Jimmy John's to get one, but I would not recommend it. That was the most disappointing sandwich I've ever eaten. Well, I
Jimmy
guess
John's?
not. The peanut butter and jelly sandwich that I ate the other night was, but the Cuban at Jimmy John's I would not recommend.
Good to know. Good to
So
know.
where did you go? Where'd you go to? Where'd you find it?
Even Stevens. This isn't an ad or anything like that, and I
nice.
want this to be known. But Even Stevens makes a pretty mean sandwich at each of their locations. If you ever want just to test out a sandwich, try their jackfruit sandwich. But their Cuban sandwich is pretty damn good.
Awesome.
So
I will add it to
Sounds
my list
tasty.
of local places to eat.
you should. You most definitely should. Josh, did you have some like food cravings during that, like when we hit it off? Or I guess we can talk about it a little bit more as we get in.
I'm
Or
not gonna lie, I didn't really, just because I had just eaten dinner right before, as well as I literally like finished watching this like 30, 40 minutes ago before we started recording the episode. So, you know. So I didn't really, maybe if I had watched it before and I had extra time to go somewhere, maybe, but I didn't have that extra time, so I couldn't do anything.
Oh, you and I are very different people in this way, because I will stop at nothing to find food. Like if I'm even slightly hungry, I'm like, well guys, this can wait. I'm famished. I'm going to make some food. I'm going to go buy some food, anything I can. Like it's just one of those things that's like my jam is like food, and I love food. So I think
I
that's why we're
think
watching this film, is cuz I love food so
I think
much.
we might only make it a few minutes into the episode before Casey's like, "Excuse me, I gotta run an errand."
I'm salivating a little bit, guys, just thinking
Right.
about the food. Oh, freak. Well, let's dive into this film, guys. As always, we would ask, like we do this at the end of the podcast. I just want to do it at the beginning. If you want to, check out what we're doing on Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. You can find us on those things at Pause Run Play Podcast or Pause Run Play. Just look us up. We'll be there. And so let's kind of dive in. We're going to be talking Chef, which is a 2014 film. I'm going to butcher this guy's name. Jon Favreau, right? Is how you say his name?
Favreau.
Oh, see, Jon Favreau, who's famous for directing Iron Man and a couple Star Wars films and features, and he's also an actor in Iron Man and Spider-Man. He is Robert Downey Jr.'s right-hand man, Happy, right? That's what they call
Yep.
him.
Mhm.
So
Happy Hogan, I think his full name is.
I want that to be my name now, Happy. Don't tell my mom and dad. No, I love my name. But anyhow, Vince, do you got some facts for us on this film?
Sure. Like you said, I think this movie must have been like, he had to have had some kind of deal with the studio, because this was like directed, written by, starred by, and I think produced by, I'd have to double check,
Mhm.
all by Jon Favreau.
It
So
is.
I'm guessing, and again, I don't really know, but I'm guessing he did Iron Man and killed it, and did Iron Man 2 and killed it, and then was like, I want to do one for me, and I love food. So I'm going to do this movie about a chef who runs a food truck. I don't know, that's my guess, because he basically ran the show in this.
Yeah.
And man, he's proved time and time again his talent. And the more time goes on, the more we learn of how. I mean, he's basically running Star Wars now. So, like, good on you, Jon Favreau. Movie was released May 30th, 2014. It had a budget of $11 million and it grossed just a little bit under $49 million. Rotten Tomatoes gave it a critic score of 87% and an audience score of 85%, and IMDb gave it a 7.3. The movie, again, is starring Jon Favreau as Carl Casper, John Leguizamo as Martin, who I haven't seen John Leguizamo in anything in a long time, so that was a fresh face that I was really happy to see again.
Yeah.
His defining role as Luigi Mario in the Mario Brothers movie. Just let that sink in that was his best role.
Oh man.
Either that or the crazy clown guy from Spawn, also one of his best roles.
Oh man, he's been in a lot of stuff though. I just have to say that he's done a lot of things, but not really very many movies anymore.
Yeah, not lately. Surprise appearances that I did not remember were in this. Scarlett Johansson as Molly, Dustin Hoffman as Riva, Sofia Vergara as Ines, and Robert Downey Jr. shows up as Marvin. So again,
You didn't remember Sofia Vergara, Vince?
No, I forgot everybody but Jon Favreau.
I'm not gonna lie, and like, tell me if I'm crazy, and Vince, you'll be the one to tell me, But I looked at Scarlett Johansson and I was like, what the heck? She looks super different. And I looked at her and I'm like, she looks like a cross between like herself and like Billie Eilish now, like when Billie Eilish has like the dark hair.
The dark
like
hair.
I don't know, maybe I'm crazy, but like, and something in the eyes too. I was just like, something was just like Billie Eilish, and I was like, what the heck? But they were super cool. It was crazy to see like the differences between, or not the differences, but like the amount of star performers there were like in this movie, even if they were in it for just a short time.
And again, notice that half that cast is Iron Man 2.
Yep.
Scarlett Johansson, Robert Downey Jr., Jon Favreau.
You nailed it.
I don't know. I'm seeing a lot of coincidences here.
I feel like he had to have like used like his, I don't know, like he's like, guys, I'm making this thing, it's a passion project, I just need you to join me on this venture. And like everyone's like, okay, yeah, like you're a great director, you're helping us. Like pretty much Jon Favreau like restarted Robert Downey Jr.'s career, so I mean he could show up for 4 minutes of this movie to help him out, I guess.
I mean, yeah, let's be real. How long do you think Robert Downey Jr. was on set? 1, maybe 2 days max. Scarlett Joe, like 2 or 3 days, maybe 4. I don't know. So
yeah, it's crazy. This cast though, this movie, like the way he set this up, like 10 points for him. Like seriously, he did so well at setting this whole movie up, and I'm so glad we're talking about it because actually, like I know, like I've talked about this in the past episodes, but like I watched this movie, and then I watched Chef Show, which is like him and Roy Choi like cooking, and Roy Choi is the guy who trained him actually to be the chef in the show, and a lot of the recipes that they did for this are Roy Choi's recipes.
Was he the one who was like teaching him in the credits?
Yeah, like in the Kogi food truck, like all of that kind of stuff. So it's super cool. Like he's an awesome red dude. So all around, like if you guys get to, you should check out Chef Show on Netflix. Like kid you not, you'll enjoy it. It'll make you hungry, but boy, you'll enjoy it.
Food shows are a dangerous game, man. Like, I sit down and I start watching those, and it's like I gotta eat everything.
Not only that, but I like feel like I have to like step up my game, my cooking game, which is a good thing. But then sometimes I'm like, I'm taking it too far. Like I love MasterChef, and whenever I watch MasterChef, I'll try to go some night, and even if it's something super simple, I'm trying to plate it all super fancy and everything like that. And I'm just like, why am I doing this?
Oh yeah, I do the same thing. Like I cook like I'm not trying to like one up you, but I try to cook one really nice meal like every day. And that's kind of like my jam is like I love to cook. It's like my thing. And like I could pull out like 12 cookbooks out of this room right now that I'm like kind of like working out of. Like I have the Favakin, the Noma Ferments. I have one down here, one over there,
What
one
was
over
your
there.
was it Scandinavian or like Viking food or something?
Oh, the book I posted yesterday on Instagram.
Oh, I didn't see that, but I just remember you showing it to me at some point.
Oh, I have the Nordic baking book and the
That's what
Nordic
it is.
cookbook. So
Yeah.
both of those are like 700 and like 1,000 page books of like recipes that have been compiled all over the Scandinavian region, and they're amazing and they're tons of fun. Like I've learned how to like preserve fish and like cook things different ways that I wanted to, and like one of the things I want to go try is actually to do like beef bone marrow, like just grilling it on the grill like barbecue. So it's
Ooh,
on the
nice.
list of weird things I'm gonna try
Ooh,
soon. So should be tasty. But yeah, cooking is one thing I want to do. Actually, I'm working on this right now, which is to go intern for 1 week at a baker here in Utah, who's like a nationally known baker who's won like food shows and stuff like
Oh,
that. And
that's
him and I have
awesome.
just been talking all the time. So
Heck
it
yeah,
would be
that's
rad.
awesome, man.
Yeah.
that's very
That's
cool.
outside the point of this movie anyways, but let's get back to this great film. Guys, I love that. I love that we're talking about this. I asked you guys a couple of questions beforehand. I kind of want to like kind of go through that. Like but first off, like as we know, like Carl Casper is the name of the chef in this movie. He's just like kind of like running this restaurant, and it's kind of like been stuck in a rut as he feels like there's no creative like anything changing. And even though that food looks crazy delicious when they're running through the menus, like to this chef it's uninspiring. And in his spare time, you know, he's just kind of creating and tinkering and making his own better menu, I would say. As he was like creating food throughout this film, and it doesn't have to be at the first when he's tinkering, but later in the film, even like what food looked the best to you, and kind of like you were like, I want to make that or I got to eat that. Like besides everything, you know, but like what was the food that stood out to you the most? So you're like, I could eat that. That sounds actually really good.
There was right near the beginning when he was trying other things for the menu and everything like that, where he made a carne asada with a chimichurri sauce, and oh my goodness, that just like kills me right there. Like that steak with the chimichurri, like I wanted to die. I was so ready. Like I'm pretty sure my mouth is like salivating like right now as we
was
speak. Just me wanting some freaking steak.
was that the one that he made in the kitchen? I'm trying to remember.
Yep.
Yeah, he made it in the kitchen,
Like
and then the
after
two
hours.
guys came, and
Yeah.
he had them try it and stuff. Yeah.
Mhm.
Ugh.
Well, that brings me to the most disappointing part of this whole movie. I felt so bad for him. I guess disappointing in I just feel for the character, right? Not disappointing in the movie didn't deliver, because the movie delivered on all fronts for me. When he brings in that big old lechon, that big old pig, and he's not
Oh,
allowed to cook that, and he takes it home. I guess this is the second time he brings the pig in, and he pretty much he has the blow up with the food critic, and he goes home and he cooks the meal that he was going to make for the food critic, and you see what he's putting together, and it's just that delicious looking pork mixed with I can't remember everything that he cooked there. Lechon is so good. I love this movie for a lot of reasons, but I actually lived in Puerto Rico for 2 years. And last fall, we actually went back to Puerto Rico and visited and just got a taste of that Latin culture again. Puerto Rico's the best. They say down there that they have the best of both worlds. You know, the Latin culture mixed with the American culture, so it's still like this awesome party island, but with all the amenities that we have in the US, you know. And there's literally a street in Puerto Rico that is
mhm.
open every week that you can go and you can get big old pig roast and macaroni salad, tostones, which are the fried plantains that he talks about in the movie, you know. And then it's just like it's just the most delicious food, all wrapped up in this Latin culture and that's the other thing I love about this movie is the music, that Latin music, the reggaeton, it just felt like being home again, because I kind of consider Puerto Rico. I lived there for so long that I kind of feel it's my second home. It's the only place that I've lived outside of Utah. So I just have the soft spot for it. And it's just this movie had the same culture and everything, and just watching him cook that roast and just feeling that disappointment for him that he could have blown the socks off of that critic, if just he was given the chance. Was such disappointment.
Yeah, I felt the same way, and I was actually wondering that was going to be one of my questions, just directed at you, and maybe Josh, you can feel this way, like because you spent some time in South America as well. Like, did this like connect with you on a different level because of your guys' connections with Latin America? Because like he's like interacting and doing Cuban food and Latin American food, but like, was it just something where you're like, man, I could go for that right now, or there's like a
Oh
moment you're
yeah.
like, I miss this Latin part of my life,
Oh yeah, for me, definitely.
I definitely felt the same thing, even though there is like a fairly large difference. Like when you get like that far south,
Yeah.
it is still like the Latin flavors, but there were definitely a few times where they were making stuff, and I would think about food in Brazil, where I spent time, and I was just like, oh yes, like I could go for feijoada right now, or I could go for like a real churrasco, just like, and I just, and that Texas barbecue and everything, it just made me miss like a lot of stuff down there like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Every time he pointed out like specific foods, like when he was showing his kid what a plantain was, and plátano maduro, and this is the plantain, this is the right plantain, this is the one we got. This is the one that we want to use because we're making tostones. Tostones are one of the best things I've ever eaten in my life. I don't know if you guys ever had them.
Never.
They're so simple. It's literally just plantain smashed and fried and covered in salt and garlic, and they just go so perfectly with just
Sounds
everything
delicious.
down there. Yuca, I didn't have a lot of yuca down there, but they
I
talked in the
love yuca. I am trying to remember. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just like,
No, you're good.
now that you brought it up, I remembered it. They have it all the time, just like as a side dish, and it's not like fancy or anything like that. You literally just like take the skin off, like fry it up, and put salt on it, and it's freaking delicious. Sorry, you could keep going. I just wanted to
No,
make sure that was known.
That's perfect, because all I was gonna say was I didn't eat very much yuca, so I'm glad someone can shout out yuca.
Oh, it's a mandioca. In
Mandioca.
Portuguese, it's really good. Mandioca.
I've never had it. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I was like, I'm ready to like sell my house, give my dogs all the shots they need, and just like backpack through the Caribbean and South America. That's what like I thought, like through this thing, just to go taste flavors and eat foods. Let's become a travel blogger with me, Allie, and our dogs. That would be the funniest combination. But our dogs are getting like street fights with street dogs throughout Latin America. That's what I thought about, taking our dog with us to the Philippines, and she was just a little puppy, and I was like, nah, the street dog's there, and her would just fight all the time. But it would
There's
just
so
be so
many.
rad. Yeah. I don't know, like, and what's kind of cool, and you bring up the critic here, and this is one thing I really wanted to cover, was like, what did you guys think about like using Twitter and social media for them to kind of gain their following, and for him to like call out this like critic and like kind of like go for that? Did you think that was a cool element of the movie? Because this was 2014 and social media is still fairly young, but like, what did you guys think about that? Do you think that was clever, or like, what do you think?
Yo, 2014, Twitter was where it was freaking at, man. Like, I was just finishing high school, and I remember like those last 2 years of high school, Twitter was the shiz, like everyone had to have Twitter. And so it was really funny to see, almost like, like what nowadays kids would be calling like a boomer. He like gets his like Twitter account, even though he's like this famous, well-known guy. He just gets this random Twitter account, and he thinks he's like private messaging people when he's really just tweeting for everyone to see. And it gets super crazy. The social media part was definitely super interesting. And I mean, not to go like too deep too quick or anything, but I just thought it was super interesting what Vince mentioned before, because it sort of intercut when the critic was eating his second meal with when he was preparing that food at home, right? And it was this amazing, fantastic meal with the pork and everything, like Vince mentioned. It looked delicious. It looked so good. And it sort of hinted, when he was like, keep the critic there or anything like that, blah, blah, blah. Like, I thought that he was like bringing the food to him, right? Like,
Yeah,
he
me
was going to
too.
bring it and be like, taste this, eat this, and everything like that. And I was like super excited, and then he broke in and he just lost his temper and he was yelling at him, and I was like, what just happened? Like, why did this happen? And it made me like think a lot, and I was really thinking about it, and I was like, how often like do we let like people do something like that to us, right? Like, whether it's online in social media or in our personal lives or something, like someone can like give us a bad review or just like say they don't like something about us or get in a disagreement on social media, and we like let that like tear ourselves down so much to where we could be like him, and where we could have like this fighting and yelling match and be so upset with someone or ourselves as well, when really what are you capable of? Because like we thought he was going to bring that meal to him and show him what he could do, when really what he did was go in there and get in the fighting match with him. And so sometimes I think we just like put too much into a lot of this like social media stuff, what other people say, and we don't like let our real true potential like he had and it was showing there like really shine through.
Yeah. And I thought, like, personally, like, sorry to cut you off, Vince.
No,
I
you're good.
thought personally, like, he was gonna start like tweeting pictures to the guy, like being like, actually, here's this, look at this, you can see this. And obviously, like, we know he wasn't good with Twitter because he had his son help him set it up, and his son was like, oh, whoa, you got like 1,000 people following you and like so many thousand retweets after this. And he's like, no, whoa, what's going on? So like I had hoped that maybe he'd figured out enough that he was gonna tweet pictures to him and be like, this is what I would have served you if given the chance, you know. But instead he like goes in there and loses his mind. And I think that's kind of crazy, is that social media can play such a heavy part in our lives, right? Like it can influence us so much. Like I don't want to beat a dead horse here, like Josh is saying, and you know, but like we take things really seriously, and words hurt, no matter if they're just on a digital space that we really can't fathom, or if they're in person. Like it's just kind of crazy that, you know, and it's hard probably to be a food critic. And I would not want to be a food critic, but someone's got to review food, I guess. I don't know.
I'd be a terrible food critic. I'd just be like, I'd taste something and be like, yeah, this is really good, 5 out of 5 stars. And then I'd taste something else and I'd be like, oh yeah, this is really good too, 5 out of 5 stars. I'm not a picky eater. But I totally agree with you guys. Social media can be, especially nowadays in 2020, it can be I mean, this movie shows it perfectly. It can be a very important tool and it can be a very dangerous tool, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, look at the movie. The reason he lost his job, well, okay, he lost his job because he wasn't doing what the boss told him to do, right? But the reason he couldn't find work after he lost his job was because everybody video recorded his freak out and put it on the internet. And it was basically, he got canceled, right? To put it in 2020 lingo. He got canceled, couldn't find a job. So he went and he started a food truck. Took that following that he gained from his freak out and made that work for him and started his life because of social media. So it's interesting because like social media, both in the 2-hour span of this movie, both ruined him and saved him and allowed him to create, you know, pick himself back up from nothing. And that's exactly what social media can do right now, you know, or like that we've seen over the past, how long has it been, 6 years, that social media can kind of, if you're a bad person and you say bad things and you do bad things, or even if you just have one bad day, you know, it can be taken a certain way and it can ruin your life. So you got to be very careful with what you're saying online or what you're putting up online. But used efficiently and used effectively, it can also create, you know, so many opportunities. It's created so many jobs for people. Like how many podcasters do we know nowadays? Even to the point where we're doing this, you know, and how many YouTube stars and how many, I don't know, the internet's crazy. And how, I mean, you guys talk about how like he freaked out on that guy, but the critic didn't even realize that what was going on was as dramatic as Jon Favreau's chef character had it out to be. Like we find out later in the movie that the guy thought that he's just like, I thought it was all theatrics. I thought we were playing a game. Like I didn't mean for you to take it all so seriously. I thought we were, you know, playing this out for the public. But it can hurt. The things that you say online can hurt people, whether you realize it or not. We just got to be very careful with how we treat the anonymous face on the other side of the screen, you know?
Totally. And like the digital space, it's hard to read what people, their like tone of voice or their intent and all of that. And I think I think that's the hard part, right? Is sometimes like I have to like double read things that are posted or that I post and like make sure that the message is clear. I actually have a program like on my computer that actually helps me understand the tone of what I'm writing so that it's not like taken wrong or it can't be really taken out of context and stuff like that, which is it's nice, but like that's what like is crazy is so like you're talking about this destroyed his career. He got fired, all of this happened, and then thanks to his son understanding and being a social media genius, he and his buddy are able to get this new food truck, drive it back from Miami back to California or wherever they are, and freaking have this huge following because his son is just like having a fun summer with his dad and documenting it essentially. Like that's so freaking cool in my mind.
I just love that they got some of the best social media platforms on here. I love Twitter, everything, but they got Vine on here, guys. A good old 6-second video Vine.
And playing into that
What's a
whole
Vine?
fad of 1 second a day videos that went around YouTube for a while.
Dude, I'm still doing that, man. I actually do 1 second every day for
Oh,
my
awesome.
dogs and my life. It's a super cute thing, but like I do it for the dogs because I never want to forget them. But like, yeah, it's fun stuff, right?
That's awesome, man. I guess it wasn't a fad. It's here to stay, apparently.
It still
See,
exists.
this is
Well, I just started recently, so
I'm the Jon Favreau in this situation. I'm the most out of touch, I think, with the social media platforms. I can do Instagram, but when it comes to Facebook and Twitter, I am out of the loop. Also, TikTok. I don't know how to run a TikTok. Vine died, and that was the last thing for video for me.
yeah, I'm not a fan of TikTok. Hey, do you guys want to hear something kind of rad about like a little trivia that kind of goes along with this movie? With
Yeah,
that,
okay.
So Roy Choi, who was kind of like the trainer for the food and everything, he has a food truck called Kogi, and he did this in LA in 2009 when he started his food truck. So his like food truck is like Korean, like Latin infusion type food, like burritos and tacos and stuff like that. And he would just tweet where he was because like they kept getting kicked out of their spots, and so he'd tweet the change in the menu for the day throughout like this
Oh,
thing, and that's kind
cool.
of how they played it into this. So I thought that was pretty cool in my mind.
So was the movie inspired by him, do you think? Or did he
I
or the movie inspire him? Or is it
I
just
think
coincidence?
I think the movie might be a little bit inspired by him because actually Jon Favreau and Roy Choi became friends because oh crap, who's the one who plays Pepper Potts? Gwyneth Paltrow. She hired the Kogi truck to come and cater one of the shootings for Iron Man, and that's
Oh,
how the two
cool.
of them became friends. And then I wonder if it kind of translated into, hey, here's a genius idea for a movie, and boom, they're working together to create this film. And then they were still kind of like wanting to be creative afterwards, and so they created the Chef Show, which has references to Chef Movie, and they kind of like do a lot of stuff. So those two are actually doing a ton of stuff together,
Oh,
which I
that's
think
awesome.
is a ton of fun. So yeah, random trivia. Twitter
Very
and
cool.
food trucks is a thing.
So the technology's fun, the food is amazing, but the heart of the movie is the relationship between Carl and Martin, right? Between this chef who's down on his luck, who's divorced, who's lost connection with his kid, and who goes across the country and starts a food truck, and by happenstance ends up spending one of the best summers of his life with his kid. And that's where the movie, I think, really shines, right?
Yeah, I love this part because like they're driving as soon as they leave Miami, right? And he's like, "Who wants to go to Disneyland?" Or they're in that area, and the kid's like, "Nah, I'd rather go to Baton Rouge." And he's like, "Actually, that's my kid. Yep, that's my kid." And it's just kind of fun. Like, and I think the son's name is actually Percy here. So
Oh.
Martin is
Hey
his
man,
like
I like the relationship between Martin and Carl as well. Okay.
I think that's important, and we need to talk about that because, like, Martin's like his ride or die here, right? He's just kind of like going with him. He quit his
Holy
job.
cow. He literally just quit his job and flew to Miami to meet up with his friend who's starting a food truck that you don't even, I mean, you know that the guy's a good cook, he's a good chef, it's this disgusting old food truck. You don't know this will be a success. You quit your job and just fly out. What a freaking friend, man. Holy cow.
What did you guys
Yes.
think when you first saw that food truck, that freaking dumpster fire?
That just made me cringe, man. Ugh.
Yeah, I would have turned around and walked away. They're like, this is not a food truck. This is garbage. But man, they pulled it off. It
Let's
looked
just
really nice.
burn it.
And yeah, I misspoke. You're right. It's Percy, his son, not Martin. But how yeah. I think it's so cool that Carl got this opportunity to connect with his child, with his best bud, spend this awesome summer traveling the world, eating food in all these like well-known cities, like cities that are well known for food, you know, like you said, out to New Orleans, Austin, Texas for the barbecue, and just sharing, just Carl gets to share what he loves more than anything in the world, which is food. And I can't remember exactly how he puts it, but basically he says that he gets to play a role in people's lives. And you know, one burnt sandwich is not just a burnt sandwich. It's a reflection of you and the thing that you love. And if you're willing to just like half-ass it and give someone a crappy meal, then it's not even worth doing. And he gets to share the summer with his friend and his kid, and he just gets to eat. And I just want to do that more than anything in the world right now. And I don't think that that's just because we've been in lockdown, or not lockdown. We've been in, you know, this pandemic for so long. But that just sounds like one of the best vacations you can have, you know, like going out of the country and seeing somewhere new is great. Going to Puerto Rico was awesome. Easily one of the highlights of the trip was that street eating that barbecue pig. And I think it would be a blast to just take a road trip and hit up all these cities and just eat and eat and eat until I can't eat anymore and then come home.
Well, Vince, you got my vote. Let's do it. Let's buy a food truck and let's drive it somewhere and just like pay our way as we go via food. I saw a UTA bus for sale, like one of their mid-sized buses, and I was like, $7,000, huh? But then I looked up like all the kitchen equipment, and I was like, I could just do a grilled cheese food truck, grilled cheese hot dogs. Let's do it.
Hey, there's a grilled cheese place in Utah Valley that did really well. I don't know if it's still there with the virus, but it was really good. I ate there a couple of times.
The one in Pleasant Grove, right?
No, it was a local thing. What's that? Yeah, Pleasant Grove.
My brother almost worked there because it's like
Cravings.
Yeah, Cravings Bistro.
Mm-hmm. It's good. Yep. It was really good.
It's got like the weirdest grilled cheese sandwiches that you would never think were delicious, but they are. Like, I went and I got one that was pretty standard, and my wife, being, you know, outgoing and how she is, she wanted to get one that's called like Thanksgiving dinner, and it literally is like everything from a Thanksgiving dinner like stuffed into a grilled cheese. And I was like, that sounds disgusting. And I ate it, and it was so damn good.
Right? That's the thing. And I love that you brought up that line, Vince, and kind of that moment, because it's kind of like putting pride into your work, right? Like, this is kind of like what he said, what his quotes is, I may not do everything great in my life, but I'm good at this. I manage to touch other people's life with what I do, and I want to share this with you, is kind of like the quote from the trailer. And I love that so much, because not everyone has pride in what they do. Not everyone is passionate about what they do. I'm not going to lie to you. The thing I'm most passionate about doing right now in my life is this podcast, and kind of like trying to figure out how to grow it, designing stuff for it. And I'm like, I'm not even doing that great at that, but it's what I'm most passionate about right now. I feel like, is I'm like, this is okay. Like, this is kind of my, like, I don't know, my escape from reality in a way, or like what I want to make my reality. Right. And so I just appreciate, like, it's kind of like same thing. I appreciate you and Josh, like Vince and Josh, sharing this with me, because it's like we're doing something fun, talking about movies, whether they have food, action, romance, drama, whatever they might be, dumpster fires or not. It's a fun time, and that's kind of like what he explained is like, you know, like that truck rolled out, and who would have thought that truck became the food truck that it did, and kind of the movement that it did, and the experience that it was. So I don't know. I freaking loved it so much. Oh, guys, my mouth is watering. I might need to take that break we were talking about.
I remember, and I wanted to bring this up because it might be like my answer might be like controversial to what you guys would think, but I remember Casey, one of the questions you had asked us was, would you have like followed like the path they took, him and Martin, as far as like going from like the restaurant business into like a food truck? And I think like, yeah, if I could be successful, I probably would, but I'm not gonna lie, I don't think that I would. I might be like the guy who ended up wimping out, Tony, who like he got the chance for a promotion and he just freaking took it, because I love the food truck as much as the next guy. But if I really had like the talent and skill to work in a top like Los Angeles restaurant, I'm not gonna lie, I would be all about that life. That would be freaking awesome.
Yeah. Well, I think there's something to be said about people who work food trucks, who own food trucks, right? It's they're out there on the streets, and it's because they love the streets, they love feeding people, and they know it's going to be hard. Like, I don't think being in a hot food truck sounds very exciting, to be honest with you. But like meeting the people, feeding them, and just having that experience, I think overall would be like the creme de creme for me. Like it would be like
Yeah.
delicious.
No, I was just gonna say, look at the success that you can have with it too. I mean, I can think of 2 local food trucks that now have multiple locations around around Utah. I don't know if they're outside of Utah yet, but Cup Bop started out as a food truck, and now they've got multiple restaurants all across the state. And then there's a burrito place that I really like called Sweeto Burrito that started as a local food truck, and now they've got multiple restaurants all
That was
across
a
the
food
state.
truck?
Yeah, yeah, I remember seeing
Yeah,
them driving
Really?
around here around Utah Valley for a while, and now
Sweet
they've got, I
Burrito
can think of
was a
2
food
locations
truck.
right off the top of my head. So, like,
That's
it's a good starting point, and if you don't want to, like Carl in the movie, if you don't want to have to report to a boss and you wanna be creative and come up with your own stuff, be your own boss, the food truck is a great way to start, and then, take it from there.
Well, it's a good way to get a lot of experience in a short amount of time, I think, too. Because, you know, people
And a
love
lot of
food, and if your
eyes.
food is good and you can do it, it's a lot of opportunity for you. Well, guys, I don't want to take up too much time here. I wanted to keep this one kind of short, but did you guys have some other favorite moments from the movie or things we need to kind of cover on this and why you thought this was a good film?
I think I know that we already mentioned it, but I'd be remiss if we didn't like really drive home, like at least for me, because I heard you guys talking about it, but just him and his son, that relationship, everything they did, and they build off of each other's strengths. Obviously, Carl, he is, a world-renowned chef, and even if he's had his, hard times lately, he knows what he's doing. He knows the food that he's making. He knows what to do. While his son is there, and his son is very a lot of times express interest in getting to like know his dad and doing real things with his dad, not just watching a movie or playing games or something, but actually like figuring stuff out, talking together, working things out. And just that food truck experience of them driving across the nation, him teaching him what to do, how he did it, and then creating something successful was just that was just so heartwarming, and obviously just the heart and soul of the movie right there, and it drove it all home, and I loved it.
Yeah. I thought that was like actually like I love that line like when he's just setting up his Twitter account and like Carl Casper is asking his son, right? Like, oh, what is this and what is this? And he's like, what do you want your username to be? And he's just like, I love doing stuff like this. Like, I love spending time together. Like, just doing the like what we think probably are dumb and mundane things, like had an impact on that kid. And I love that. I think that was good. So good call out, Josh. I love that. What about you, Vince?
Mhm. No, totally agree. I think that was the heart of the movie. Without that relationship, it wouldn't be the same. It's about a father sharing the thing that he loves most with his child and connecting to his child when they were drifting apart after this, divorce. And it's about a man who, thought he was happy and thought that he had, got everything that he wanted and realized that he wasn't. And You know, the rut that he was in that he didn't realize that he was in was kind of ruining his life. I mean, by the end of the movie, he gets back with his wife, remarries his wife, and I just think he found that passion for, you know, not only cooking but passion for life again, and he just kind of opened back up and became who he was. What did they say? He'd been to in that restaurant for 10 years. So he kind of
Yeah.
became that person that he was when he first got that job and was like really living and not just doing the day-to-day mundane, go and get a paycheck. And it's, I don't know, it's a lesson that we can all learn, you know, live life to the fullest, appreciate what you've got, take risks, do what you love, don't abandon your kids.
Yeah. And one thing that I love about that too is, you know, when he's like, when they're back in LA and kind of like him, his wife, and his son, they're all working in the food truck. And then like the critic comes up and the wife is like, there's no food for you here. No one's going to feed you. And he's like, I know. I just need to talk to the chef, right? And the chef comes out, like Carl comes out, and he's like, what do you want, man? Like, what's going on? He's like, hey, I didn't actually come up to your food truck myself because I knew I probably wasn't welcome, but this is some damn good food. Like, you're cooking for yourself again, which I think proves how important it is to like that sometimes you might get lost along the way in your journey of life, right? And that happens to all of us. Like we all struggle. We have to experience hardship and pain and kind of have to have something that bumps and shakes us around. But really, like, it's just something that like there are times when we just really need to get that kickstart going again and be able to find our passion. And once we work for ourselves, once we're doing something for us, people will be able to see, and people will be able to see the shine in that. So I love that. So good call out. Good call out.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you guys think? Anything else before we kind of close out?
Gonna go make some
9 out of
lechon.
10. Great movie.
Well, guys, I'm not gonna lie to you. I want to do another like food based show, but I want to do it when we can get together, and I will cook the full like
And
a
we
full
can
dinner
have
out of like
food.
the stuff.
So
I'm
food
not even
based.
joking. I would love to do that.
So food based like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and have pizza, or I just kidding.
Yeah, I won't cut my hand this time. I do that. Like we could do like a pasta
Ratatouille.
show.
Perfect.
Oh, there we go,
I could
Ratatouille.
make
There we go.
I can make a French peasant dish any day. No, I actually watch a lot of recipes on how to recreate that because it's so pretty in that movie. But yeah, we should do another podcast on food. But guys,
You'll have to
thanks for.
You'll have to let me know what other food movies there are, because I don't think I've seen a lot of food based movies. Other than
I'm gonna be honest
Ratatouille,
with you.
I'm kind of blanking on them too. I'm sure they're out there.
There are food movies out there, but a lot of them are crap, to be super honest with you. But like, I don't know, like if you haven't, like, I recommend anyone to watch like some of the early Anthony Bourdain
Oh,
work,
yeah,
like
yeah, I
A
love
Cook's
those.
Tour and stuff like that is like really good TV. David Chang's his Ugly Delicious on Netflix is amazing. There's a lot. There's actually one. I'll have to look at what it's called. I can't remember. That's new on Netflix. It's like a British one, but they have three cooks come in from all over the world, and they have what are called the food gods, and that one's kind of cool. The Mind of the Chef, like that kind of TV is really good. But I'll like post a couple other food movies that people might enjoy that I've watched. There's one that is on Voodoo right now for free if you have an account. It's called Burnt, and it's starring Bradley Cooper. The story is kind of weird. If you don't know a lot about food, it's a super awesome movie. But if you have like I've worked in the food industry and I've read a lot of books and I've talked to a lot of chefs and stuff like this, there's a lot of holes for them in it, but it's a super awesome show as well. So yeah, we'll talk some more on that. But like I just went on a whole
Great.
tangent. I love Chef, guys. I think anyone should watch it. It's a good movie. Like it's fun and it has a lot of good feels in it. So if you want to like see how you can be broken down and you can rebuild yourself in a time of hardship, this is most definitely a feel good movie to watch. And last but not least, I don't know if he'll make it this far in the podcast, and I hope he does, but my friend Flip was the one who originally recommended this to me, and he recommended it to me like 2 years ago when we were working events across the country. He's like, this is something you'd enjoy, and I finally got to watching it, and I'm really sad I didn't think until just now that I should have invited him on the podcast for this because he loves this movie as well. But yeah, thanks Flip for recommending this, and miss you, man. Can't wait to hang out after quarantine's over and all of this crap. But anything else, guys, before we close out?
No, just like always, thank you very much for tuning in. In case you already mentioned at the beginning, to make sure and check us out on our social media platforms. I've been trying to do a little bit more on our Twitter with some polls and things, so check us out there, especially. And I don't know, we just love to hear from you always. Your movie recommendations are what really keep us going, and we always love to hear what you guys think is really good cinema, or maybe even really bad cinema, because we love to experience it with you and talk about it.
Yeah, any dumpster fires out there of movies that we should see, let us know. I think it could be fun to talk about. But
Nothing is off limits. I just rewatched Batman Forever.
Oh man.
I will watch anything.
Well, on that note, there you have it, guys. Thank you so much again for tuning into the Pause Rewind Play podcast, and we'll catch you next time.